human beings have human rights. In addition, there are specific rights related to forced migration. In this video, we will discuss these rights, as well as the realities of barriers to exercising these rights. First, human rights are universal. This means that all human beings, including non-citizens, have the same rights, except for certain political rights like voting and running for office. In Canada, the 1985 Singh case confirmed this right to have rights. In this case, the Supreme Court of Canada ruled that the legal guarantees of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms apply to everyone physically present in Canada, including non-citizens like refugee claimants. However, the reality is that many refugees and asylum seekers have limited access to public services. This is complicated by different levels of government and scarce resources in many refugee hosting areas. Second, there are specific rights that apply to people in situations of forced migration. Everyone has the right to claim asylum. This right is found in Article 14 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Quote, "Everyone has the right to seek and to enjoy in other countries asylum from persecution," unquote. It is also codified in the 1951 UN Refugee Convention, Canadian law, customary law, and many religious traditions. However, in reality, many countries, including Canada, deny people the right to asylum by preventing them from accessing their territory to make a refugee claim. David Scott Fitzgerald calls this the, quote, "architecture of repulsion," unquote. Through externalization and interdiction policies, Canada and many other rich countries use visas, carrier sanctions, and agreements with other countries to seriously restrict the right to asylum. Similarly, every human being has the right to freedom of movement. Article 26 of the 1951 UN Refugee Convention states, quote, "Each contracting state shall accord to refugees lawfully in its territory the right to choose their place of residence and to move freely within its territory, subject to any regulations applicable to aliens generally in the same circumstance." Article 12 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights provides rights to free movement and residence within a country, leave any country, and enter one's own country. However, in reality, displaced people are increasingly trapped in situations of immobility. For example, many refugee camps are strictly controlled and people cannot leave without permission. Canada, as well as many other countries, uses immigration detention for people who are believed to be at high risk of absconding or who cannot prove their identities. Because Canada has only 3 immigration detention facilities, many people who have committed no crime are held in provincial jails. In some cases, resettlement programs require newcomers to live and stay in certain parts of a country. Several European countries, including the United Kingdom, Sweden, the Netherlands, Norway, and Denmark, have had such dispersal policies that require refugees to live in lower density areas. Another key right related to displacement is non-refoulement. Under the UN Refugee Convention, states may not deport people to a country where life or freedom is at risk because of, quote, "race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group, or political opinion," unquote. Even if someone enters a country irregularly, they cannot be deported until their refugee claim is heard. However, in reality, country of origin information is sometimes politicized. The Canadian government, for example, has in the past a designated country of origin list of countries that were considered safe. Mexico was on that list, despite the high levels of refugee claims. Moreover, there is very little data or accountability on what happens to someone once they are deported. In conclusion, while human rights apply to everyone, citizens are better able to exercise these rights than refugees and refugee claimants. Moreover, increasingly restrictive immigration policies undermine fundamental rights of asylum, freedom of movement, and non-refoulement.